Well, howdy. Captain Buster with I think it'll be the first teachable moment from this year. But I was sitting up there thinking a while ago, you know, words are real important. Words have a lot of meaning to them. But so many times we have to learn what the words mean. I know Wade at one time was a little fella. I know you won't believe that by looking at him. But at one time, he was a baby. And I know when he was a toddler, he was running all around that house, and he was a one-finger man. He would one finger, he'd see something and didn't know exactly what it was. He'd take that one finger and he'd touch it, you know. And the old house we lived in, I was renting it from my uncle. Me and Jean had just got married. And we rented this little house from my uncle, and it was not real tight. I know the older people probably know what I'm talking about. But when the wind would blow, the curtains on the inside of the house would flap. That's how tight it was. And only heat we had, we didn't have a fireplace or anything. We had an old oil heater. And you couldn't feel any heat from it unless you stood 3 foot from it, but we were just happy as we could be. We didn't know any better. We thought we was living in high cotton. And Wade, every now and then, he would run up to that heater, and we'd have it cranked up just as high as we could crank it. And he would run up there with that one finger and almost touch. He was wanting to touch that heater. And we'd holler, "Whoa, whoa, don't do that. That's hot." And Jean would get him, and she'd say, "Hot," and she'd point at that heater. He'd say, "Hot," and go running on off, but he didn't know what hot meant, but he would say it, "Hot." Well, you know what happened? One day before we could stop him, he had one finger to the side of that oil heater. Man, he gave a blood-curdling scream, run around there, and Jean doctored him up the best she could. And from then on, he'd go by that heater, he'd feel the heat, he'd stop, he'd point at that heater, he'd say, "Hot." And he knowed exactly what the word hot meant. It meant, you touch it, it's gonna burn. Well, I played sports all the way through school. Played baseball, football, tried basketball. I never did like basketball. Coach Hutch Hutchison was my baseball coach in high school at American Legion, and he was the line coach on the football team. Thought the world of Coach Hutch. Because not only did he coach me in baseball and football, but we hunted and fished together. He had what he called a sportsman club, and the boys in high school back then, shoot, they didn't think nothing about guns, Now, I doubt if they can even have a sportsman club, but he'd take us hunting, I don't think he ever took the whole crowd fishing. But in baseball, I was an outfielder, and I had a good arm. In fact, I got a scholarship, a college scholarship. Didn't stay there long. They didn't have no hunting or fishing up there, and I just couldn't stay there. And my pretty girl was back in Camden. Anyway, I didn't stay there long. I come back home, started hunting and fishing and dating my girl. But Coach Hutch would pitch me every now and then. I didn't have that much control, but now I could burn the ball. I could chunk it. And he had a salve that he just thought it would cure anything. He thought that thing would cure cancer, but it was a salve. It was in a bottle about that big around, about that high, and it was a dark red. And the name on it, and I should have got real suspicious of this, the name on it was Atomic Bomb, B-A-L-M, not B-O-M-B, Atomic Bomb. And every time I'd pitch, he'd say, now Rush, hot down Rush, he always used hot down dad bum son of a gun Miss Agnes. That's what he'd say. He said, hot down Rush, when you get home, he says, now rub that right arm down real good with atomic bomb. I said, yes, sir. Back in those days, I don't know how it is now, but every boy on the team had jockey itch. I mean, that's just the way it was. We thought that was part of playing ball. You had to have jockey itch. Well, sometimes, you know, it itched so bad we'd scratch it till it was raw. Well, we had played Orangeburg, and that was in American Legion. You know, in American Legion we played 9 innings. High school we played 7, but in American Legion we played 9 innings. And we played Orangeburg, and that was probably an hour and a half trip, because that old bus we rode in, you couldn't run about 40, 45. And one night when I got home, I had pitched. He had pitched me that night. When I got home, it was probably 1 o'clock in the morning. Mom and Dad done been in the bed a couple of 2 or 3 hours. So I went in the bathroom and I rubbed my arm down good with atomic bomb. So I just crawled up in the bed. And I was just about asleep and I got the itching. So I reached down in and scratched that jockey itch with the same hand that I had put that atomic bomb on my arm with. And all of a sudden, boy, my eyes popped open. Somebody had got under that cover with a blowtorch and was setting me on fire. I throwed that cover back, sailed out of that there top bunk, hit the floor running. Into that bathroom I went. Well, I couldn't get enough cold water on that thing. I finally jumped down in the tub, got on my back, had the cold water on wide open, throwed my feet up on the wall, and got up under that cold water, and it was just running full speed on the raw place that was on fire. And my daddy come through the door. And he looked at me. I done woke him and Mom both up. He said, what in the world are you doing? I says, I'm putting out a fire pot. He mumbled something and went on back. But I learned that atomic bomb meant don't let that get on no raw place, because it was going to set you on fire. Anyway, words are real important. Remember that. Words are important. Pay attention to them. Capt Buster with a teachable moment. Hope I helped somebody out there.